I came back from a trip to Arabia. I was very excited. We'd lived with Bedouin and learned to speak Arabic and kissed a whole bunch of camels, and I wanted to tell all these stories. And I said to my friends, oh, I got to write a book. And they were like, dude, you're illiterate. And that was true. And then they're like, dude, have you ever been to Chinook? There's like 1.5 million books there. The world does not need another book. They were also true. Luckily, I didn't listen to them, and I went off and, typed out this 100,000-word manuscript, and all of a sudden there was an agent and a publisher, and this thing was being published. And I had an office up on Edmonton Trail at the time, and I remember it arrived in a FedEx package, and I ripped that thing open, and there it was, this physical manifestation of this dream in my hand. You could smell that new book. Thank God there weren't Kindles back then. But anyways, here it was. And then the phone rang, and it's a publisher, and they're like, Bruce, we're going to send you on tour. And I'm like, this is like my Bon Jovi moments. It's like, yeah. Little did I know that being, going on tour as a Canadian author is the most humiliating thing you can ever do. You basically go and stand at the back of a bunch of chapters with this little pile of your books, and no one sees you. And if they do, they're like, hey, that dude's on janitorial. Where's the can, man? And you're like, oh, it's around the corner over there. And then a few people realize you've written a book, and they come to talk to you, and they don't even care about your book. They want to write a book, and which is great because, and I really believe in stories as a way to share human experience and our learning, together in this culture and on this planet. So I tell them everything I knew, but I would say, if you want to write a book, don't worry about chapter length and word count and royalties. What you need to do is you need to go home tonight before you turn off the light. You got to open your laptop and you got to type chapter 1 and you got to write the first paragraph. I do not care what you write. You will change it, I guarantee you. But if you don't, you'll think, I'll go home, your hands on the light. You'll be, you know what, I'm going to write that on the weekend. Weekend's going to come, and you're like, Christmas shopping time. I'll write that in the new year. New Year's going to come, and you'll be like, I don't even really have enough experience to write this book. I'm going to put it off a year. You will never write the book. About 5 years later, I went on the same tour of shame. I was at the back of the same chapters, feeling depressed. The same people were there asking about writing books. 5 years later, the same questions. One had gone home and opened her laptop. Her name was Brita Doss. She lives in Edmonton. She'd written a book called Butter Tea at Sunrise about spending a year in Bhutan, and it was on the shelf beside mine. It was already there, printed, published. It was amazing. So, I say this beyond the projects you manage. I say this just about life. If there's anything you dream of, some way you can make the world better, make your workplace better, make anything make a difference, start that now, today. As you leave this conference, send someone a text message or an email. Somehow commit to doing this thing, because if you don't, it's going to go on and on and on. We'll miss that. And we're so often reminded of this kind of beautiful, ephemeral nature of life that we all share at times, of tragedy. We make these commitments. We're going to love deeper. We're going to care for our neighbors. We're going to eat more healthily and exercise more often. Don't wait for that stark reminder. Do it starting today. And starting is kind of easy, and I think you know this in a sense on a project, because there's this great upwelling of enthusiasm, and it's actually going. And I'm going to talk about the first days on an expedition. Because even though you have 100 pounds on your back and mosquitoes in your ear and up your nose, you're loving it. You feel so good. You're like, I got the sun on my cheeks and the wind in my hair. This is what I was born to do. It's fantastic. Man, you're walking, you're like, I'm fitter than I thought. This is barely even hurting. It's a really good trip. We're going to have like an incredible 80 days crossing this ugly, godforsaken mountain range. And, you see all these incredible meadows, and you're like, it'd be a nice campsite, but we got to push on because we're just starting. And then the incredible sunset flashes across the sky, and you're just like, this is the best day ever, man. The first day killed it. Let's find a camp. And you sit down and you take off your boot, and boom. Oh, yeah. Well, you're lucky that you're finished your lunch, I guess. But anyways, it's all cool. So you got your repair kit. You got duct tape. You're just going to slap a little duct tape on that thing, and you got that all taken care of. Then you're like, let's set up the tent. Like, where are those beautiful meadows that I saw? And now it's just rocks everywhere, rocks. And you're like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to set the tent up on these rocks. But I brought a thermarest. You've gone to MEC before, got your membership. Blow this thing up. Shh, it's got a leak. You're like, oh my God, okay. Anyways, I'm so tired. It was a good day. I'm going to just sleep face down in the rocks on my flat thermarest. You are not, because it's going to snow all night, and you're going to be up shoveling this bloody tent all night just so you don't suffocate in the damn thing. And when you wake up in the morning, you're going to think, I'm done. I'm totally cooked. Just stick a fork in me because it's over. This is my wife. If she knows you saw this picture, you could stick a fork in me over. She thinks I deleted it from the memory card. But anyways, that was her heel also earlier. And we were on a trek across Iceland, which I'd assured her was 500 kilometers, and she just looked in the guidebook and realized it was over 1,000, and she was not very pleased with me. So if I had been thinking wisely, I would have laid this graph out for her at this time. And you are familiar with this graph in project management. It's a graph of suffering versus time. This is one of the kind of key metrics that you work off. Again, it starts down at the intercept. You're just starting and it's going and you feel good.